Welcome back to the Post School Podcast. Today I got another solo ep for you, and we're going to be talking about the reality of moving abroad. This is the dream, right? You move overseas, you work just from your laptop, you make a shitload of money, and you get to sip coconuts every day, you travel when you want, you go to the gym at 10 a.m., 11 a.m., you literally live life on your own terms. It sounds amazing, and in some ways it is, and it was, and I lived it, and it was my dream, and I realized that dream, but in so many ways it's not at all what you think. And I really want to dive deeper into what the reality of the situation is, especially in a place like Bali where I lived for 2.5 years, so that you can set your expectations, stop comparing yourself to others, and feel a little bit more comfortable with where you're at. So let's start with social media. We all see that life on Instagram, especially us Aussies here, looking at people living in Bali or traveling to Bali all the time. It looks amazing. It does. Bali is a beautiful place. There are incredible cafes and gyms and restaurants and villas, and it looks amazing. And the influencers do a great job of showcasing that. And the truth is that beauty is real. Like, that does exist. It is there. But what you don't see behind the scenes are the mundane moments that lead to those incredible moments. Just being over there in general, you walk along the street and you've got thousands of wires above your head, or banked up traffic on the motorbikes that take 40 minutes to get 3 kilometers. These are the things that aren't so much on social media, that when we see the beautiful picture of the nice white pool in the villa, you forget about the other side of it. And I'm not dissing Bali in any way. I'm just trying to help you understand that there's more depth than a photo leads on. So it's really important that when you romanticize this and you start feeling sad that you're not over there, or like your life isn't as good as the person's life who is overseas and living the nomad life, the reality is very different to what you're perceiving. Now, living this nomad life was my dream as well. Before I moved over to Bali, I loved the idea of being able to work from my laptop whenever I want, choose my hours, live where I want to live, do what I want to do every day. And don't get me wrong, that's what I was able to do. The flexibility is amazing. And I am so grateful to have had that experience and still am able to do that. But at the same time, there's a whole different plethora of stresses that come with that you often underestimate. So the nomad dream is amazing and it's worthwhile chasing, but just be aware that there are other stresses too. When you're working for yourself, the buck stops with you. If you don't work, you don't make money. That part is really scary. You're no longer able to tell your boss you're going to have a few days off and still get paid, or take your sick leave or your annual leave, or not worry about your super being paid or your taxes. You have to think about all these things. If you want to make money, you have to go and find clients or find a way to bring that income in. You then have to pay the taxes. If you want to stay an Australian tax resident, you have to pay Australian taxes. If you're living overseas, you have to pay the taxes for whatever jurisdiction you're now in and wherever you're making money. You have to think about putting money into your super if you want to think about your own retirement. You have to think about your own investments, all of these things that are stressful. If you're moving out of home for the first time as well, you have to spend a lot of money doing all of that. So the digital nomad life is amazing, and yeah, you get the flexibility, but it comes at a cost that most people underestimate. For me, it was really hard. Like, I was living in a holiday destination, Bali. It's beautiful, right? And yet I had to work every day. If I didn't work, I wasn't getting paid. So you start to question what you're actually doing over there. And I had the ability to not work. If I didn't want to work, I didn't have to work. But if I didn't work, I wasn't getting paid and I'd have to move back anyway. So most days in Bali as a digital nomad, I'd be sitting on my laptop at home working from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. I'd go to the gym in the morning, but apart from that, I probably wouldn't leave home. And these are the sides of the nomad life that most people miss. We look at some of the video creators online and the videos they post are incredible, but what you don't realize is the filming of that took 3 hours. Maybe they were there for a couple days, and then it took them 4 days to edit, and they did that in a dark room doing nothing else. So it's a double-edged sword. Don't get me wrong, the dream is a worthwhile one. It's amazing, but it's important to recognize that there are mundane moments in this lifestyle as well. And then the other really important thing to realize when you're moving away as a digital nomad is that you're now in charge of getting your own visas sorted if you're living abroad, understanding the tax situation if you're moving to a different country and you're making income in other places, paying your own rent, coming up with the cost of equipment and all of these things. If your laptop breaks, you got to get a new laptop. You got to pay for insurances. There are so many hidden costs that we just don't think about, and so much to wrap your head around. If you're moving to a new language, all of the laws might be in a different language. If you're moving to a new country, all of the laws might be in a different language. All of these things take a lot of time to figure out, understand, and act on. So it's important that before you just go down this digital nomad path and move away, you have a grasp on where you're going, what you're doing, and what that's going to look like. And then you've also got to think about the idea that you're going to be building a new routine from scratch. Like when you leave the comfort of maybe you've been employed, maybe you just finished uni and you decide it's not for you, so you want to go the digital nomad entrepreneur route. These things now are up to you. You don't have an employer telling you have to be at the office by 9 a.m. and you can leave at 4:30. There's none of that anymore. So you have to create your own routine. And if you're moving overseas, you're also moving to a place that you're not familiar with. So you have to understand what are the things that you really want to do. Your priorities, your non-negotiables. So for me, that's the gym, surfing, eating. You have to eat every day. Nighttime football. What else? Those are probably the main non-negotiables, to be fair. And then time with friends, partner, call family, those sorts of things. When you then understand what your non-negotiables are, you can build a routine around that. So what I would recommend is if you're moving away and you want to live this digital nomad life, even though you get to choose your own hours and stick to them. Set up your day so that you know what you're doing at what hour. If you want to wake up early and go to the gym, wake up early and go to the gym. But after that, get to your laptop. Work from the same place every day or the same style of place. If you work well at a cafe, go to a cafe at 9 a.m. Set a real time so that you can build a real routine. Otherwise, you'll waste so many hours in the day just farting around trying to figure out what you should do next. This was something that helped me massively when I finally figured out what the routine should look like. Because the flexibility is amazing, but it also leaves you with a large responsibility to set up your own day in a way that allows you to be productive. So think about that before you go and do it. Understand what your routine should look like so that you can actually make the most of the flexibility and not just waste time and then wonder why you're not progressing. Now, the other side of this digital nomad dream is the loneliness. Some people are really excited to move away from their family, the place they grew up, and try a different life. But for me, I found that really hard. Moving away and just having my laptop meant that I wasn't working in an office with colleagues every day. I was no longer near my family, so I didn't have that banter and relatability anymore. It's hard to meet new friends and meet new people because realistically, if you're working from your laptop, you could just stay at home all day and work. So this is also something that can be quite tough, and it feels very isolating at times. When you rely on making content for work, you have to spend hours looking at your screen with no interactions with anyone else. And that's a lot to get used to, especially if you're a really sociable person. But on the flip side, you are flexible, so you can make time for those things. But if you just make time for those things and then allow the work to slack off, you'll notice that you're not progressing as much as you were before. And for a person like me, where I feel like I need to be always moving forward, that can take a pretty large toll as well. Personally, for me, moving to Bali, the hardest part was feeling misaligned. It just never really clicked like it felt like I should be there. And I don't know whether that was because what I was doing for work wasn't stable. Some months I'd make great money, some months I'd make next to no money. I wasn't sure if it was because I just never really found a group of friends that I gelled with. Maybe I relied too much on the girl that I was with at the time. I don't know, but Bali just never really gelled for me. I struggled a lot moving overseas. And I thought my dream was to live in Bali, working digitally with my own hours. Did I just say digitally? man, let's create that as a new word. Working digitally with my own hours. I had the flexibility to choose when and where I want to work. I could travel, but none of it felt good. I don't know, maybe I'm someone who thrives on structure. I guess that's the truth, right? I've come back home and I work from an office every day. Even though I'm still doing the same things, I'm still working from my laptop and choosing my hours. I've made sure that I stick to some sort of routine. In the office by 10, I still get my gym session in the morning or go for a surf or a coffee with a friend, but I'm in the office by 10, or at least on my laptop by 10, and working and progressing and moving forward. I found that so hard in Bali. Being a holiday place, the digital nomad dream is great, but it's so tempting to just holiday. You know, you're overseas and you want to enjoy that. And it's really easy to enjoy that. So rather than working, you get an invite to go to the beach or go play paddle or go to the gym a second time. And you say yes, because why not? You're in a holiday destination. You should do that. So that was really hard for me. You know, you always have friends coming over to visit and wanting to stay with you, but they're on holiday mode and you're on life mode. You're trying to live your everyday while they're trying to party, and they're inviting you to fins and you're saying, well, I got to work. So yes, the digital nomad life is incredible and I'm lucky to have lived it, but there are so many parts of it that are really, really tough. And I say tough knowing that I sound like an absolute twat, because the choice between working on my laptop at a cafe or going to fins for the day obviously doesn't sound very tough. But the point is, you constantly feel in conflict. You don't know whether you should be having fun or working hard. And that side of it is really challenging. So now we're at the part of the episode where I want to get practical. Give you guys some things you can actually take away and think about before you make the decision to try the digital nomad life. Now, the 3 big things that I would think about is, number 1, where's your money coming from? Get this consistent first. Don't just move overseas thinking I'll figure it out later. I think it's important to plan and to set a date and say, by this date, I want to be able to move overseas, or hell, even book your flight, but give yourself enough of a buffer to build something up. You know that you're going to be disciplined enough to actually create that income and make it work for you. For me, it was this digital marketing agency, and before I left Australia, I built that up to a point where I was making enough money every month to sustain myself. And yeah, things didn't really work out as I planned. I lost a few clients after a few months and my income dropped, but by that point, I had enough money to at least last a few months and then figure it out from there. And I did figure it out from there. I made it work really well for myself, but I wouldn't have been able to do that if I hadn't set the solid base from the start. So the main thing is understand where your money is going to come from and get consistent enough before you make the move. The second thing is know your living arrangement. Before you leave, understand what life is going to look like. Where are you going to work from every day? Where are you going to sleep? What's it all going to cost? And do you have the right technology to make that life make sense over there? Like in Bali, for instance, if your computer is old and breaking, and then it does break and shuts down on you, it's really hard to get another genuine Apple Mac over there. Like, it's really hard. You have to get someone to ship it over or bring it over with them, or maybe you have to get it shipped in from Jakarta. There's like 1 or 2 Apple stores, well, like Apple spin-off stores in Bali. But those sorts of things you need to consider. So if your tech's not up to scratch and you're living a digital nomad life that relies on your laptop, and that laptop goes offline for a few weeks, are you going to be okay? What are you going to do about that? So just think about those things. Then the third one is get excited. I know that I've been sat here saying it's not all it's trumped up to be, but it's so amazing in so many ways. It really is. Plan your life out. If you know you're going overseas to live this digital nomad life, don't allow yourself to be so stuck up on working all the time. This was a mistake that I made. I was living in a beautiful destination, Bali, and I had access to incredible day trips or weekend trips going, for instance, I didn't even go to the Komodo Islands while I was there. And that's one of the most incredible parts of Indonesia. And it's something I wish I did. But the last year of living over there, I did make the most of it, and I tried plenty and traveled to a few of the islands, Sumatra, Sumbawa, all of these beautiful destinations, and I did a lot, but there's a lot that I also didn't do. So if you know that this is what you're going to do, allow yourself to make the most of it. And yeah, if you take a day off work, you take a day off work. That's the point, right? That's why we're doing this. That's why the digital nomad life is enjoyable. But it's also important to balance that out with work so that you've got enough money to sustain the future as well. So the tip there, because I know that wasn't really practical, was it? The tip there is to plan your life. When you move away, what are the things that you want to do? Create a bit of a bucket list before you go and allow yourself to prioritize doing those things as well as working hard. And the last practical takeaway I want to give you is to set yourself up properly. What I mean by that is know your non-negotiables, set your routine. Have time-specific things that you're going to do every day to allow you to feel like you're in a routine and feel productive instead of chaotic and tired all the time. We really underestimate this idea of a routine. I feel like it's so easy to get bored of the mundane routine, but actually without routine, life is stressful. It's tiresome. We get to a point where we're exhausted every day. You get to a Friday night, you don't want to go out because you're wrecked. So I think it's really important to, no matter where you're going, as exciting as it is, understand that it's important to have mundane moments and a routine that's going to allow you to stay energized and continue moving forward and enjoying this new life. All right, it's time for the community questions segment of the Post School Podcast. Now, this is where you guys write in on a Monday. I put up a story on the Uncle Nathan Instagram about the topic of the week. You guys ask some questions there, and then I come on the pod and I answer those questions. So again, we're still new into these solo apps. I didn't expect an overwhelming response just yet, but there's a few in there that I want to answer today. The first one is, how much money do I need before I can move abroad? This is a really hard question to answer. It depends completely on what you're trying to do. I think it's really important to move overseas with at least 3 to 6 months worth of money behind you. This is what I did, and I'm so glad that I did it. This is not financial advice, by the way. I'm not a financial advisor. I don't know your situation. But the point is, I think it's important to have a backing because typically things aren't going to work out the way that you want them to or expect them to. So have a buffer, have some money behind you before you go overseas. And at the same time, if you're doing the digital nomad life and you're going to be working online, whether that's you've been hired for a remote role, which is a great situation, or you're doing the entrepreneurial thing and you're running your own business, whether that's monthly recurring revenue or you're getting paid as a freelancer, it's really important to have a bit of consistency to your income. Even if it's just a few $1,000s a month, know where it's coming from, when it's coming, and how secure that is. Because when you're overseas and you've done the thing, the clock starts ticking very quickly when you stop making money. And I've felt that, and it's not a nice feeling. So either have savings behind you or have a bunch of new projects or clients on the go. So if you lose one or your income drops, it's not going to be too hard to bring that income back. Now, this next question is interesting, and it is, what are the best ways to live a digital nomad life? Now, I'm going to take this question as like, what are the best business options or like jobs to make this a reality? Like I said before, you could either get a remote role and work for a company, in which case you'd probably have contracted hours and days of the week, and then you can live a digital nomad life, but you'd probably be working 9 to 5 every day. Or say it's a 9 to 5 Sydney role, that means you'd be working 11 to 7 in Bali. So take that into account. Remote work as an employee is a great setup because you're still getting your super paid, your taxes looked after, you're making a stable income and a predictable income, and you've got a set hour routine, which is important as well. But you then also don't have the flexibility that we might have as entrepreneurs running your own thing or freelancing. So those are the other options as well. You start up your own business. It's incredibly saturated now, but you've got e-com or marketing, these sorts of things where you're drop shipping. Look, a lot of it is gimmicky. I wouldn't waste your money on all these courses or people trying to sell you the dream of setting up this online business that makes thousands of dollars a month for 2 hours of work a week. That's just not a reality. So don't be sold by the lies. But it is possible to make a reliable income online, whether that's through content, whether it's through providing a sought after service in a really well-designed way. It's incredibly saturated out there now, so just starting a marketing agency isn't going to get you very far, but starting a marketing agency that helps certain clients implement AI, maybe it's local businesses to your area where you've grown up, those sorts of things, there's still plenty of cut-through potential. You can make real money doing those things. So I'd suggest getting really niche if you want to go the entrepreneurial route. Find the framework that has worked for many others and just pick a specific topic or a specific business area that you can niche down into so that's not so saturated anymore. And then the other option is freelance. What are you good at? What are your skills? What is something that you can monetize and do for other people where they will pay you a premium to do that? So I sort of lent more on the freelancing route as well. I tried the marketing agency side of things, and running a business overseas was challenging. Finding staff was challenging. It was expensive. So I prefer to just use the skills that I was good at, running Facebook ads, running Google ads, TikTok, funnels, CRM management, those sorts of things, and offer that as a service to clients or people who are looking for those. That for me provided the most flexibility, because as long as I got my work done and hit the targets, then I could decide what I wanted to do with the rest of my day and the rest of my week. So that would be the recommendation, is figure out the path that you want to take. Are you going to be working for someone? Are you going to be doing your own thing, starting your own business? Or are you going to be freelancing and finding clients? And then once you've got that idea of what you want to do and how you want to do it, you have to come up with a plan. Like I said, don't leave the place that you are currently living before you're actually making money. That's not a good decision. And yeah, you might figure it out on the way, but you're going to save yourself a hell of a lot of stress, time, and money if you just figure it out beforehand. So come up with a strategy, start making some money, and then once you've proven the concept and you've got a bit of reliable income coming in, then you can move away and live that digital nomad dream. So how do I want to wrap up today's episode? When I think about the digital nomad life, and I hope I haven't talked people out of it, I think about it as it is incredible, but it's not for everyone. And I don't say that in like not everyone can achieve it. I think anyone can achieve it and try it, but I think it takes a certain type of person to really enjoy it. And the honest truth is, I was not that person. The complete digital nomad life where you're living overseas on your own, doing your own thing, working your flexible hours, that didn't do it for me. I need a bit of structure. I need to be around people who excite me and inspire me to try new things and work on new projects. I've always got other things going on, like this book or the podcast or a million other things that I'm doing. And if I'm just on my own in a room every day, working this digital nomad lifestyle, building a business, it just doesn't align. It wasn't for me. And I think social media does a great job of selling the dream, but oftentimes what you're seeing are people making money from you actually consuming their content. So there's a juxtaposition in that I'm not even going to jump into. But the point is, don't be sold the dream without realizing whether or not it's right for you. And I encourage anyone who's considering it to give it a try and make some online money, move overseas, do it for a little while and see if it aligns. But if it doesn't, that's okay too. It's not for everyone. You can still find an incredible job back home that you love and that fulfills you. You can still build your own business that you love and that fulfills you, and work with incredible people as a part of that business without having to move overseas or with set hours. I think the important part for me is this lifestyle balance. I want the flexibility and the freedom to choose how I work, but it doesn't mean that I don't want to work. I enjoy working hard and I enjoy grinding on things that I'm passionate about. So I think that's the key, is the digital nomad life is great. If you want to try it, try it. But you're going to burn out pretty quickly if you don't have something, or if you're not building something that you're truly passionate about and want to see work. It's not just a means to an end. It's not just a way to make money. It needs to be something that you care about, that you want to see succeed. Otherwise, I promise you, you are not going to enjoy it. Now, as always, I'll wrap up with a quick book update. Nothing to report this week. Still being ghosted by publishers. Not very fun. I'll keep you updated if anything changes. But for the meantime, please pre-save the book. There's a link in my bio or in the show notes here where you can click on, give your information. You'll be the first to notify when the book's coming up to a release date. I'll also send out random emails here or there. Not very often, promise no spam. But this will keep you up to date on how things are going, as well as ask for your help to potentially review chapters before I self-publish. I'm also going to send out the cover art soon for people to have a look at. So if you want to help out, let me know. There's also a chance for you to contribute to what you want to see inside the book. I'd really love to get your opinion on things that you struggle with in your 20s and what you're finding confusing or challenging at the moment. So please click that link, have your say, pre-save the book. And I want to hear about your digital nomad dreams. So send me a DM on Instagram. Tell me what you would absolutely love to do. If there were no constraints, money wasn't an object, you didn't have current responsibilities, what would you do for work and where would you live? I really want to hear that to see sort of what the current consensus is. Because I feel like, Bali was the dream for a while, but maybe not so much anymore. Send me a DM. Tell me where you want to live, what you want to do. I'd be really curious. Otherwise, watch out for next Monday's Instagram story where you'll get the chance to contribute to the episode of the week. I'll tell you the topic on Monday, so make sure you're watching that. And I'll see you in the next episode. Ciao.